What's up guys, my name is Matt, and ever since I started these projects, I have received countless requests to do strikes and to record the data on the drop rate of skeleton keys. And that's exactly what I did in a project that took an in-depth look at the loot from 100 normal SIVA Crisis strikes that I called Project Crisis. Now of course, some of you still don't care about the individual numbers or any of the questions I answered and just want a too long didn't read version of the video. So for you guys, like always, you can skip to the time shown on screen now. For everyone else, let's dive into this. Now every time I do one of these projects, I like to include a few disclaimers. First, I want to state that while 100 strikes may seem like a large number to some, when it comes to the scope of Destiny and the size of its player base, this is a very small sample size, and anything I state in this video shouldn't be taken as finite information. So please do not go out and expect the same results and get upset when you experience something different. Remember that RNG is still RNG, and your results may vary. Also, I know the drop rates of skeleton keys are a very touchy subject in this community, and while some feel the drop rate is fine, many feel the drop rate is way too low, and any discussion on this topic can become heated. So because of this, I will not be stating my opinion on the drop rates in this video and instead only present the data as I recorded it. When it comes to data, there are a few disclaimers as well. To start, like in all of my projects, I did not record individual drops from random enemies, so there is no data on a random legendary helmet from a random vandal. When it comes to boss kills, I did not record the items they dropped unless it was a skeleton key or an exotic. So because of this, I have no data on any greens, blues, or legendaries dropped from the bosses. However, I did record which strike was completed and how far into a strike streak I was at the time of completion. And when it came to the streaks, every 5th strike in the streak, I returned to orbit in order to reset the streak. In addition, I did record the data on what I received from the strike caches when I opened them, but will not be covering that information in the video. If that information interests you, as well as any other information presented in the video, the link to the spreadsheet used for this project can be found in the description. When I sat down and started this project, I wanted to answer 3 questions. What is the overall drop rate of skeleton keys in the SIVA Crisis playlist? Does the drop rate of exotics from 3 of coins differ from any of my past projects upon completion of the strike? And does your strike streak affect the drop rate of keys? There were many other questions I considered including in this project, but I felt these were the 3 most important questions. So let's dive into the first question. Does the drop rate of exotics from 3 of coins differ from any of my past projects upon the completion of strikes? And simply put, the answer is no. Over the 100 strikes, I received a grand total of 16 drops, which resulted in 17 exotics. And I'm certain that statement created a few questions, so to clear those up right away, one of the drops gave me 2 exotics. In my past project, the drop rate for exotics has always been 1 in 5. And whether you consider that 16 drops or 17 drops occurred, both came out to roughly 1 in 6, or 16% of the time. While this differs from the 1 in 5 and contradicts my previous statement that it doesn't differ from my past projects, one thing not taken into account in the previous statement is the fact that the Scion Flares and Omnigul do not drop exotics. So if we ignore those 2 strikes, which I completed 11 times and 5 times respectively, in actuality, I had 84 opportunities to even receive an exotic drop. Because of this, this brings the ratio down from 1 in 6 to roughly 1 in 5. Which in turn furthers my assumption that 3 of coins drop exotics 1/5 of the time. For the second and third questions, does your strike streak affect the drop rate of keys, and what is the overall drop rate of skeleton keys in the SIVA Crisis playlist? They fit together nicely, so I'll be answering them at the same time. Overall, during 100 normal SIVA Crisis strikes, I received a grand total of 16 keys. 1 key dropping roughly every 6 or so strikes, which in turn is about 16% of the time. And of those 16 keys I received, the streak didn't appear to affect my drops. I received 7 of the 16 keys with a strike streak of 1, as well as 6 at a streak of 5, with the others somewhere in the middle of the streak. And while I can't confidently say that streak doesn't affect the drop rate, as I feel my sample size is too small, I can say that based on a few assumptions and the data I do have, streak doesn't seem to affect the drop rate. I'd also like to state that before starting this project, I did a small amount of research to find out what the community assumed the drop rate to be, and that number was about 10% of the time, or 1 key in every 10 strikes. And as I stated earlier, my sample size is small and can vary differently from others' experiences. But within my data, I found something interesting that I felt was important to include in this section. I was looking at my data and noticed upon starting my 27th strike all the way up until my 49th strike, I received only 2 keys over the course of 23 strikes. So during this time, I could very easily assume the drop rate to be 1 in 11 or only 9% of the time. But on my 50th and 51st strike, I received a key each time, bringing that subpar drop rate of 9% all the way up to 16% of the time, which is in line with the rest of the data I collected. But as I stated earlier, this is a small sample size in the grand scope of Destiny, and if I had to make an educated guess on what the actual drop rate of skeleton keys are, it's probably closer to 15% of the time. So like all my other projects, we've arrived at the point where the impatient viewers get their information from my videos and the rest of you get a quick summary. Over the course of 100 strikes, I received a total of 17 exotics, or 16% of the time. But if you ignore the Dust Palace and the Will of Crota, as they are unable to drop exotics via 3 of coins, the drop rate is increased to 20% and doesn't differ from any other activity I've tested. When it comes to skeleton keys, strike streaks don't appear to affect the drop rate. But I also feel my sample size is too small to definitively make this statement. But over the course of the 100 strikes, skeleton keys did reliably drop once every 6 or so strikes, with roughly a 16% drop rate. I've stated this many times in the video, but please take this information lightly and don't assume if you go out and do 6 strikes you will get a key, because that is simply not how RNG works. I also wanted to thank you guys yet again. I do it in every video, but now there are over 10,000 of you, and barely a month ago that number was 5,000. I don't know where you all came from, but you came fast and your support has been overwhelming and I appreciate it immensely. I wanted to do something for 10K but simply didn't have the time to prepare, but I still want to give you guys something. So with that said, my friends over at Multilux Recordings have a Discord server and have allowed me to use it as a place where you guys, my subs, my viewers, my supporters can come and chat with me outside of YouTube and my streams. In addition to Twitter and random videos, I will be announcing my streams and anything important in the Discord server. So if that is something that interests you, the link to the server is in the description and you can join whenever you like. I wish I could do more for 10K, but as I said, it just came way too fast. But hopefully this is something that shows my appreciation. I also want to remind you guys that this is only part 1 of the project, and the second part will cover heroic strikes. I'll be doing an equal amount, 100 heroic strikes, to see if they differ in any way from the normal strikes. But for now, I'm gonna get out of here, say my name is Matt, and I'll see you guys next time.